Then the last one, which I will not talk to today, is about industrialization. But at the heart of it, these industries don't exist in vacuum. They exist in municipalities. And there's a slide that's going to talk to that. We believe that we want to be the bridge that transforms the municipalities, because at the heart of it, that's where the service delivery happens. We can talk about digitalization, we can talk about revenue collection. It doesn't happen at national, it happens at the municipality. Just for context, when we say we are in the municipal space, we are simply helping out these municipalities in collecting revenues. And currently we have just over 34 billion rands within our portfolio that we assist municipalities in collecting. And I'll share some of the stories as we go along. So then, let's start talking about the challenges. I'm also cognizant of the fact that I'm preaching to the converted. So I will try to make sure that I really highlight some of the key challenges which are affecting or will affect the sustainability of the local municipalities. Now, as I said, the problem with municipalities or at the local government is that these challenges are complex. Complex because they are intertwined with other elements. Now, the very first one, I think we've been talking about service delivery. We've been talking about no budget. We've been talking about the leadership required to move us forward. All of these things are intertwined. And that's why it's not a yes or a no. It's not a black or a white, right? It's a muffled gray area. But what we're seeing is that the complexity is affecting efficiency. That's what we are measured on, right? And those are the areas that we need to focus on. And I will shift to how we see the model being improved at the heart of things. The last point, I think perhaps to concur with the last speaker, talking about the high personal vacancy rate and the lack of competencies. We, as the leadership, we need to think about the next set of skills that are required. Yes, some questions were asked about, do we have adequate project management? Do we have effective credit control skills, etc.? But if I were to put it to you, if we think about 2040, right? It's 15 years from now. Your client will be a different one from today, even though they need the services. Think about yourself. In 2010, when Simphiwe Shabalala scored that goal, you used to walk to Pick n Pay. Today, you have an app. You can actually order food. So the industry has advanced, and what we are saying is that we need to advance with our customers. In the context of everything that we're doing, we need to advance with them, and we'll share a few examples. Pardon me. So when you even start to look at all of these municipalities and the metros, etc., yes, this is how majority of them are getting their revenue, right? So from the property rates to the service charges, etc. And I'm zoning into the finance side because we cannot do anything without thinking through our financial model, right? So you can see where the majority of the metros are getting their funding. You can see where the other local municipalities are getting their funding through the transfers, for example. So that acknowledgement in terms of how each municipality gets its money is quite important, right? So the metros have got the volumes. You apply the rates, we get the funding. But we'll show you that it is not as easy as that. Now, maybe to reiterate, and I'll come back to some of the issues. Financial distress is something that was highlighted by the previous speaker. We have escalating debt burdens, but the issue here is more of how do we manage the rent that we get so that we are able to attract the investment that is required by the municipality to actually render services. Service delivery failures, I think it's something that you're aware of. It is the maintenance, as it was highlighted, that we can get away for it with maybe within like 10 years. But 20, 25, you cannot get away with it. Again, how do we address those issues? Governance and capacity, I'll stand up and say, of course, there may be instances of political interference, right? The mayor is appointed by the people and the engineer is appointed by the mayor, as it was put. But how do we balance these two? And I think it requires a bigger stakeholder strategy in terms of how do we satisfy, how do we manage all of these stakeholders in the landscape. And again, it talks to the model. The socio-economic factors, I think we know of the triple challenge, but allow me to zone in into the municipal space. So what do we experience on a daily basis as Ndebelo? I think the very first part is our clients have become smarter. You can talk about bypasses, a low bypass, a no payment. In fact, maybe let's start off with the three categories. You start off with the first person who says, "Ish, I'm still scared, you know." The common quote is that you know how to make money, but you are just afraid of the police. At this point in time, you know how to make money, right? So we start with the first group, which says, "Hey, let me bypass my geyser, and I'll stick to the electrical. Let me bypass my geyser and my other stoves, but let's still have the meter running. You'll come in, you'll pay $100 of the token or credit so that the municipality can see that there's something there." The second one, you've got those who've got a bit of fat next to their liver. They will just bypass straight, right? But the third one, which is much more important, is, and we're able to pick it up, once your neighbor is busy watering the garden with another bypass of the water, and they said, "I haven't paid the municipality for 3 months," what do you think is going to happen to the person who's paying? They stop paying, right? So those are the patterns, and that's what I say, our client has become smarter than us, and is affecting our revenue at the heart of things. The last point in terms of the intergovernmental relations, I think whilst there is an intergovernmental framework, we do need to have an action plan towards addressing those things. So we are picking up these as the key challenges. Preaching to the converted, I'll try not to explain this model, but I think it's simple enough to say we've got the categories of municipalities, we've got to render a service, and there are ways of which we get funded in order to deliver those services. And of course, if we do not do that, we get disgruntled customers, and they start withholding payments in certain instances. Two case in points of how important this layer is. I think these are well-known cases within the local municipality. So the very first one of Clover, moving away from Lynchenburg, simply because they were not getting the services that they required. Right? It's an important event or land milestone within the local government, because then it was setting a precedence in terms of what these entities can do if they do not get the service. The second one, I mean, Astral Foods, who knows of Rainbow Chicken? Those are the guys who own Rainbow Chicken. And again, this time they took the municipality to court, right? Because of the services not rendered. So again, I'm pointing out these elements because these entities do not exist at national. They don't exist at the provincial level. They exist at local government. And if we don't play our part, including stakeholder engagement, then we'll start to see those changes affecting our space. So, as much as it might be a bit interesting to know who's bypassing, who's doing a partial bypass, who's dodging the vouchers, etc., what we see at municipal level, and I'm going to zone in on the revenue, is the very first part of incomplete revenue, right? So do we know who our clients are? The previous speaker spoke about plans being destroyed and not being available. Who are we supplying? Do we have everybody in the database? That's one of the areas that we start to look at in terms of incomplete revenue. Not everybody is billed. People are billed at the wrong rate. These are self-confessed own goals, and it's something that we need to address as municipalities. The second one, talking about the lack of revenue protection. We have the energy and the water losses. It's very difficult to pick up bypasses unless you are really you are very clear about your data management. And what I mean by that is not measuring the consumption from 1 month to the other, because they're very smart at it, right? If I keep you at $100 or 150 rands and you're consistent, our methods don't count. So one of the key things or the key areas that we've picked up is the lack of revenue protection from a data analysis perspective. Then the last one, it is the span of the revenue coverage, right? And we can also interchange that with revenue diversification. What we're saying, and all of us is saying this morning, is that we cannot pursue the plans we need to do without the money. So as much as we are defining the strategy, which I will wrap it up as I conclude, this is key before you even do anything else, right? You need to know how much you have. Before we even plan on the expenditure, we need to know how much money we have. We need to know where it is leaking, etc. So, and put into summary, what you're saying is that it needs to be complete, you need to protect it, and you need to have coverage. From a value chain perspective, again, our experience, that 34 billion rand portfolio, what we are experiencing and what we're seeing is that we don't deal with accounts when they are still at less than 50K of a value. We let it grow, and all of a sudden we find ourselves with millions of billions of rands being owed to us. So again, from a process perspective, we need to ensure that we complete that particular cycle. We make sure that we control. From a data perspective, we have effective credit control, amongst other measures as well. So this is the framework that we use, and this is what we have seen works with most municipalities that we engage with. Cognizant of the time, this was just to highlight that the funding that we have received so far is not matching the backlog that we have, as well as the operational requirements. We have received over 85 billion rands from the fiscus, not necessarily from the revenue that you have generated. And this is not going to change anytime soon. And that's why we need to go back to those 3 steps to say, is there any leakage? Is there any completeness? And can we diversify our revenue? Furthermore, and this is a point of emphasis, if we are able to demonstrate that we can spend each and every rand we get efficiently, we then start building up on the trust that is required to form those PPP partnerships. You can imagine, I'll take case in point of the work that we're doing in Free State with Harmony Gold, where they're availing millions to improve a municipality. simply because we are starting to show that we can really spend every rand that we get from our current revenue streams, and that is quite important. So, from a governance perspective, we have to clean up our space first before we actually start reaching out. So, as we think about this, what then do we consider to be the key elements of a sustainable model? Before I go on, I wanted to share maybe 2 slides before we get into the nuts of into the details of this thing. Each and every company you know has a strategy, isn't it? Do you agree? Even your own company, you have your own strategy. Whether you wrote it at the back of an envelope, you have a strategy, right? The problem is the execution. We fail to execute. There was one question that came through to say, what happens when your strategy fails? Well, and the response was, we need to put all the pieces of the puzzle, saying this is what we have, this is the imperatives, and these are the priorities. Because at the heart of it, a strategy needs to answer 2 questions. Where do we play and how do we play to win? If it doesn't answer those 2 questions, it's just a plan. It's not a strategy. Right? So those are key things that, from a leadership perspective, you need to be able to address. Now, I know that you are reading faster than me, but the heart of it is that we need to have a strategy and you need to have an implementation plan. But how does this thing come together? I think over the last 2 days, we would have touched on all of these things. So the very first part is it talks about the strategy, it talks about the vision, right? This is what we're going to focus on in the next 5 years. This is what you're going to focus on in the next 10 years. I think you outlined those things in the documentation that you have. But the problem comes with number 2. What is the business model of that particular strategy? How do we engage the stakeholders, like Mr. Gwala said? How do you bring on the communities that you are serving? What is the relationship? Some municipalities have lost a relationship with the customers. 2 weeks ago on a Monday, at a particular municipality I shall not name, the citizens were coming through with a piece of paper and a cell phone to say, this is my meter reading. Can I get a statement? Now, if that municipality is owed 1.5, 1.7 billion, how do you think we're going to get it if the customers who are willing to pay, the pure-hearted citizens, are coming through with their own meter readings? You're not going to get that money. So what we miss is our business model. What is the type of customer relationship we have? And do people working at the municipality understand this? And most of the time, the answer is no. So when the previous speaker, and pardon me, I forgot his name, was talking about leadership. Leadership means saying, this is where we are. We are 1.7 million rand in the red. This is our plan. This is your contribution to the plan. And of course, it may talk to the other elements in the organizational design. We are working with human beings. A human being is going to say, okay, I can see what's the plan. How will I get rewarded? Beyond the salary. And this is where we fail as the leadership to actually see the entire value chain. So what we're saying is that just don't think about the strategy. Just don't think about all the revenue elements we spoke about. Think about the rest of the value chain. How is our customer model? And we'll wrap it up in terms of some of the suggestions. What is our strategy? What's our employee value proposition? Why should I work for the municipality? What's in it for me? Those are the tough questions, and that's why I said from a leadership perspective, it becomes difficult to implement if you don't think those things through. Again, the governance, I think, is something that we spoke about. from ensuring that our governance processes are in check so that we can get to those unqualified audits so that people can trust us with their monies. So, as we thought about this model, what are the key principles? I think the very first one is a citizen-driven as a customer-centric city, right? If we don't have our customers in mind, they're not going to respond with their monies. And that's why we have municipalities where 90% of the people don't pay for rates and services. It's because we don't engage with them. We need to think about the entire value chain, right? Everybody, if I were to walk into the municipality, does the lady who is cleaning or the receptionist understand how well are we tracking on our KPIs? Do they understand that? No, they are too low, right? We fail to communicate the plan. And what I'm saying is we don't have to have a strategy session with everybody, but everybody needs to understand what their role is in that particular plan, right? I'm not going to use the analogy of a soccer team, but if you found yourself having defenders there up front, you'll start to have issues like we are having now at Kaizer Chiefs, right? Everybody needs to understand. And maybe a soccer match is the simplest example. How many of you actually understand the rugby rules? 0. If I were to show you a match where the Springboks are playing against New Zealand or the Cheetahs against the Lions, will you know who's winning? Will you know? Oh, okay, so you look at the score and you'll tell me who's winning, right? So if for 2 seconds we had a scoreboard at the reception where as everybody's coming in, they know whether we're winning or losing. Or put differently, if we had a scoreboard to say for this month, this is the payment of the rates, this is our expenditure. Instead of having that financial director running up and down to say, are we going to collect enough for salaries? Would it change the mindset? Right? That is what I'm posing to you. You said you don't know the rugby rules, but if I gave you a TV and I said this is the match, it's on 67 minutes, or the time has stopped, 67 minutes, would you know who's winning or losing? And the answer is yes. So what we are seeing is that operationally, we are lacking in terms of thinking the entire value chain, as well as bringing our people on board. Because they would know that if Mom Keys is not paying her rates, then it's going to affect us at the end of the day. Co-creation. Again, if I gave you an idea and I gave you all the solutions, you're not going to be part of that solution because you did not co-create. But if I said to you, we are 1.7 million rands in debt, this is the plan, are there any other ideas we should consider? And the ideas will come from the employees, right, if it's a safe space. But once that is done, the element of co-creation comes aboard. And again, I'll make a reference to the work that we do. If they are able to see that, go second floor, go to that office, your query will be resolved in 3 minutes. All of a sudden, they can see customers are coming in and they are getting the statements, but we are now starting to see an increase in the revenue that is generated by the municipality. It starts shifting the mindset of the employees, because then we don't worry about the 15th or the end of the month to say, are we going to get paid? Right? So that is what we are thinking as the key elements. The coherence within the 2 levels, again, from a stakeholder perspective, we are not engaging enough. Thank you. We're not engaging enough. So again, we can have those plans, we can have those strategies, but without partnerships to actually engage with our stakeholders, will be found wanting. And then the last one, I think I've said it, is a solid governance. So you'll find the presentation, I was just outlining all of that. But what we are seeing is that if a municipality does not take all of these things into account, and maybe to be careful with the words, sometimes we are seen as magicians as we come into the municipality and say, this is the baseline of 118 million rands. All of a sudden, today's the 19th, we have collected 121. We still have another 4 days or so. It's because we are putting these principles, we are putting all of these elements into practice with our clients. And this is not magic. This is to say, you've got a formula, think of the big picture, and everything else that you'll be executing will be executing the plan. Formulate a plan and implement a plan. This is not to say that it's easy, but just remember that don't generate a solution that's going to focus on the root cause without thinking about the entire value chain. So with that said, this was going to be the last picture in terms of how we conceptualize it. As I said, your clients are smarter than you. And I'm not talking about the bypassing. I'm just saying that even if you think about CT 2063, that person is not expecting to walk into a municipal office at 2:30, not to be served because we close at 3 or 3:30. They will want an electronic platform. They will want to engage with you digitally. And therefore, how are we catering for these needs for the future clients? With that being said, thank you very much. Hopefully I've highlighted what we think are the key elements of a sustainable model. Thank you.
Thank you to Mr. Ndebelo for those words that have been shared. We really much appreciate. Yes, we understand others have got flights to catch, but this is what I would like us to do. I would like us to be done by 1 p.m. All right, it's now about close to about 1:30 or so. So we've got about 30 minutes. Yes, there is a slot for one presentation, which I will touch on just now, because there are a few that have indicated to me that by 1:15 latest, they must run away from here. So I want to give you an extra 15 minutes so that please, I'm pleading here that when you go to have your lunch, please visit the exhibitors. You know, we do this because they help us with the sponsorships so that we can have what we have, because it does cost money, as you know, to do all of this. So obviously our partners, just like Thabiso consulting group that is here, so please kindly if you can just visit their stalls. So you'll have an extra 15 minutes now that we can please do that. And also from the presentations that have been made, especially like this last one, because I think the gentleman that just left was talking about the issues of we should have finance here, we must have counselors and everybody else, which definitely that's what we need to have in this room. And obviously from a program, we've tried to cater as much as possible from the engineers, the civil engineers who have spoken here before, coming more from the accounting or finance side of revenue, coming in and sharing some of these thoughts. So we're trying to balance this equation, which is so much, so it's not easy. And then furthermore, we've got different types of assets. You know, others are shouting electricity, others are shouting water. You know, we have to try and look into all of these things. But one thing that is for certain, asset management principles, they are uniform, they are more or less standard, which is what we need to take out of this. Then you can apply them into all these different types of assets. Obviously, there might be changes here and there, but the principles in general is what actually works. If we had time, maybe another time, Mr. Rob Charles can actually explain, because he is part of the world partners who are actually looking at these global standards as to how do we bring all of this together in what I've just made mention of. Once again, all presentations can be found at the CMEM website, www.cmem.org.za. So while they were rushing through other things, you can then access that information there. So at this time, as I said, you can remain, Baba. We will take some questions in a short while. But before we do so, Mr. Mashoga, I was going to give you 10 minutes for closing remarks. Now it's going to be 5 minutes at the end. He's from MISA, our partners as well in this regard. But at this time, I just want to borrow 3 minutes from the audience. It's more like a commercial break, a very quick commercial break that we have, because we just want to appreciate as well as honor one of our partners that we have been having for so many years within our Indaba. I even said yesterday when we were talking to them, they've stuck to their word. They said, we are going to support this Indaba from the onset, and they have done so. And then I got to hear yesterday while we were talking that they are celebrating 25 years in business. And I felt that let us honor and respect that call. So I will now be calling upon, okay, maybe let's do it this way first, because there's a video that we are going to play from your company. They are celebrating 25 years. That is IMQS, one of our sponsors, as well as now in a way I can even call you partners to this gathering of ours. So we'll play a video. It's about a minute video, please, 1 minute. We'll play it up, and then thereafter I'll call them on stage so that we can just recognize the team. Over to you, sir.
South Africa, a country brimming with potential and teeming with promise, but also one where decades of challenges have resulted in asset infrastructure systems that are outdated, inefficient, and often underutilized. At IMQS, we harness the power of technology to help optimize asset management for custodians of infrastructure portfolios within the public and private sectors. Where others see crumbling legacies, economic uncertainty, and stumbling blocks, we see infrastructure networks with untapped and unlimited potential. We offer a holistic view of how to unlock these capabilities using innovative software solutions coupled with on-the-ground expertise and advisory support. At IMQS, we are many things, but mainly we are deliberate. Our approach is to seek out the right questions before implementing the right solutions. We are mavericks. With over 2 decades in the field, we like to push boundaries and challenge the status quo. We are fearless. In the face of complexity, failure, or adversity, we value risk-taking and creative thinking over backing down or giving up. We are resilient. No matter unexpected pressures or unforeseen circumstances, we remain focused and rooted in our purpose. It's with this innately rebellious, determined, and deliberate spirit that we use our technologies and expertise to help liberate organizations from their infrastructure constraints and transform the way our customers think about their assets. To implement, embed, and add value, that's the IMQS way. Creating thriving communities, that's our purpose. Join us as we rewrite the asset management narrative in our country and help create a legacy of sustainable, efficient, and world-class infrastructure. A masterful blueprint we can proudly share with the world.
Let's give them a hand, please, as they come forward. IMQS team, please come forward. So we prepared this certificate of appreciation. Let me do it so that everyone can hear. This certificate is proudly presented to IMQS that has been issued for the 25 years of excellence, growth, and impact made through providing infrastructure asset management solutions and building capacity in many municipalities across our beautiful country of South Africa, issued on this day of the 20th of March 2025 at the National Local Government Service Delivery Indaba. Let's please give them a hand. It is a surprise. That's why they were not expecting it, but we felt important that we do this and do it right. Thank you. Let's be on the center, yeah? Then we can take a picture. So it's also part of it. Let's be on this side, yeah, so that I'll be, you can hold, but if you want, I can just go next to you. All right. So I'm so glad that we even have Ndeyiso here as well, so that they can walk the journey with us as well, so that when they celebrate, their milestones, we can also do the same, because their vision or motto statement is that they seek to empower institutions to enable African development. Am I correct? Yeah. Because we've also, on my other cap that I have at Sekfaro, we've got a very good relationship, and now this is also coming through to this end. Again, we also appreciate Ndeyiso Consulting Group in that respect. So having done all of that now, we are going to proceed. As I said, we're going to try and now do this quite quickly as possible. And there's something that Mr. Mashogo said, I'm not sure if it was yesterday or today, that everything in municipalities is asset management. And asset management is everything in municipalities. And I'm quite sure for those who may not have known about asset management before, or maybe heard about it, I think even one councillor indicated earlier that it has mainly been about the compliance aspect, asset accounting and what so forth. But now she's been empowered to understand in the past 3 days what exactly are we dealing with in regards to this particular subject matter. So obviously, as I said, it is very difficult to try and do everything. So when it comes to the next topic, which I will just talk to it in a few minutes, that talks to the maintenance issues and templates and standards. Within the country of South Africa, that is also one of our key major critical challenge that we have, the maintenance. We all know about it. We've been reactive, we talk about it, a pipe will burst, then we must go and fix that, and then this happens, and then we are on this cycle, vicious cycle that has been created. Then the question is, how are we going to now start to ensure there can be this proactive maintenance that is supposed to be taking place? And one of the key things as well that becomes very crucial is how do we standardize the maintenance that is applicable to municipalities, even to a point of having templates that can be used for certain types of assets as a start, as a basis. Because you go to some municipalities, I think one of the speakers was talking about it, they don't even know what to do. When do you grease this pump? Basic things. But then if you do not have those basics that are embedded institutionally, Mr. Mashogo did say it quite well from the MISA point of view, that it's not normal just about capacity building of individuals, but how do we institutionalize repairs and maintenance? I have seen in municipalities, as I said, if I use my other cap of finance within the public finance space, the others who are chasing after the 8% budget, they do have the 8% budget of repairs and maintenance, and they spend it. But what are they spending it on? Should they have spent it on this type of asset, critical asset? Or, the other challenge as well that is there, which goes into UIFW, the money has been spent, but you go on the ground, what works have been done? Everything has been signed off, paid off, but at the end, then there's no outcomes that have been derived out of that. So going forward, what we are now coming up with as CMEM, we have done some studies, not too much research in this regard, but we have looked around. Where can we find templates that can be used in municipalities? We even went to IMESA, a team. They did say there is something there, but not that much. We spoke to other consulting firms. We did get a few things from some of the engineers that they do have, but most of them, it's more in-house, in-house created, nothing that can be standardized or can be borrowed, and then municipalities can start making use of. But going forward, now this is the challenge that we want to pose out, and I'm quite certain that Mr. Mashogo, from the MISA point of view, we will like to take this forward in this respect, because it is quite important. We can talk for a whole day, talk and talk, but at the end of the day, how are we going to implement this? What actions need to follow from all these talks? And how are we going to help municipalities in terms of how to do this asset management, proactive asset management, even from the speech of the minister, which was actually made mention of yesterday. And as said, as CMEM, that is a task at hand in ensuring that we can start to standardize maintenance, schedules, and everything else that pertains to it. So at this time, I'm going to open up for some questions for my only speaker for now. And I wanted to first give Mr. Danny Nolte, because earlier we had closed him off in a way because there was no time. But I'm only going to give you 2 minutes, okay? Not more than 2 minutes, just for you to say some of your words that you may have wanted to say earlier on. And obviously we can touch on this maintenance because I know that is also the area of your passion. Team from the media, the roving mics, please. Team, roving mic to Mr. Danny Nolte, and then anybody who may have a question for my presenter, thereafter you may pose a question. But let's give him Mr. Danny Nolte right here in the front. He has 2 minutes thoughts to share, not more than, I'm going to start, as soon as we get the mic, I'm counting.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I was actually going to talk at the time on the subjects that were discussed, with the presenters that were on. But I just wanted to sort of fall in with that. One councillor was making mention of how are we monitoring and evaluating, what is being delivered at a municipal level, and I think it's important that we get away from the idea that whatever the Auditor General says, that is all we need to comply with. Having worked in the Office of the Auditor General and knowing where auditors come from, they mostly look at compliance to accounting standards, financial management accounting standards. And a lot of what we are talking about here actually falls outside that ambit of what they are looking at. So there is scope to look at. I know there is a department of monitoring and evaluation at a national level, and it might be feasible to look at that to We lost power, for a moment. If they can be empowered to actually assist, so we can report back to the communities as well. So everybody and I think that is where a lot of what we're doing is big numbers and intricate reports and what have you. We need to get to a stage where we can, in understandable language, and I think the last speaker was talking about that, give the scorecards, give something that everybody can understand. I think if we can get to that point, we will be in a lot better position. Something we from CMAM have been doing for quite some time is to promote the idea that if you look at asset management, it's definitely something that all the departments must do jointly. You can't just say it's either finance or it's infrastructure or whatever. It's everybody must be involved. Firstly, the accounting officer, section 63 defines that for the MFMA, and then all the other departments as well. And there must be collaboration, because a lot of things are, it relates to socio-economic development, which is not necessarily the engineers, their first priority. They just most of them are just looking straight at, the basic services as we've defined it. Over the years, we actually sort of ring-fenced it to water, sanitation, electricity, and solid waste removal. But there are quite a lot of other needs of the community that we need to fulfill as well. So we need to expand on that. And actually, the identification worldwide is that infrastructure is a lot wider than just like what we're looking at. I think we mentioned that connectivity, obviously, ICT infrastructure is very important. But then all the other aspects, like road network, is not something that is provided with an equitable share from national government. It's not included in that package. And then all the public spaces, and there's quite a lot of things that is not included in there. So, yes, we can do a lot better, and I can assure you from CMAM, we are doing our best. We're talking to everybody. We haven't been quiet for quite a number of years. Maybe just the last thing, I think something that we've been working on as well, specifically, is is the prioritization of projects. To have a scientifically based scorecard on how to apply it to different projects, because sometimes there is a competition for money, not sometimes, there is always a competition because there are lots of needs with very little money. So we've actually been working on a matrix that we sort of, we did it in collaboration with some of the old Australian methods and what have you, but applied the South African criteria to that. So we can actually, on a municipal basis, council and management, management specifically, can actually complete this and have a scorecard that can be opened up for public scrutiny, that can be opened up for for evaluation by any third party, auditors and whoever else, that you can justify. And so we've been working on that. We would like to be able to share that with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure now you can see why I had to try and stress that 2 minutes, you know. Let's give him a hand, please. Very, very passionate about asset management. That is his area. So now I would like to take a hand. Earlier, there were so many hands on this side. You know, maybe, I don't know whether this side is a bit shy, but I would like just to get one hand on this side, and also a rep from IMESA, just to say a few words, you know. It doesn't have to be about this session here, but just some words from IMESA. Anybody who may want to do that, I'm giving a chance of thinking some words together, but let me get a hand. Is there a hand? I don't want to take too many hands. James said earlier he made an executive decision when he had to cut off others. So if there's too many hands, I'll have to make an executive decision because of time. Do you have any hands? A hand from this side? Very burning question on what was presented, or it was so simplified and straightforward that there's no questions? Or is there a hand or a comment from this side? Still, there are no hands. Earlier, it was mostly coming from this side. All right. If not, it's well and good. It's going to help us with the time. And also, it will give a chance to one of the IMESA. I don't want to say who, but I know somebody deals with youth. So, somebody deals with youth development, words are easier, because you can just go quickly to ChatGPT and pick up a few words, and then you can say something. All right, from this side, any hand that we may have for our presenter? Any hand? Everyone wants to go home. Is there a hand? All right, well, it's good if we don't have a hand, but I'll still give my presenter a chance if he may want to say his last few thoughts as well. But then let me just give then IMESA. Please raise the mic, just the guys who's carrying the roving mic. Oh, there we go. Just raise up a hand from IMESA, the Institute of Municipal Engineers, the youth chairperson in KZN for the Institute of Municipal Engineers. Yes, you may give it to him. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think number one, thank you to CMAM and its sponsors for involving us and having us here today. I think we really appreciate you guys having us involved in this Indaba, and I think that together we're going to find a way to work together to help the municipal sector in order to provide better service delivery and improve the asset management systems within the municipal sector. I like the call it the phrase that you used earlier, the turn-down approach with bottom-up support. I do agree with it, and it's 100% on point. I think to further add to that, transparency between when you're setting up these sort of policies or these approaches, transparency and involvement with the guys on the ground to say, what are the issues that you are dealing with? How can we improve the processes? How can we improve the efficiency of what you guys are doing? What is actually stopping us from improving service delivery? And we take that back, and we have, it provides a sense of inclusion. When you include the guys who are actually doing the work on the ground, for them themselves, it motivates them and provides them with a sense of inclusion to say that, I was a part of developing this approach or this aim, and now it's up to me to do the hard work on the ground in order to make sure it's effective and efficient and that it works. So I think having that involvement and transparency, it'll help us a lot with service delivery, and I think we're in the right direction. So thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you. Let's give a hand to Aimesa. I'm going to give now my presenter for his last thoughts that he may have. If you do have, you can just share them. And then thereafter, because I've got about a few minutes before I call in our closing remarks, KZN Kokta is our partner this year as well. So please prepare yourself. Is James still here? James, are you here? My facilitator, or maybe he's outside. Oh, he's this side, yeah. So he said to the Honorable Councillor, he wasn't throwing under the bus, but he was giving a spotlight. You're very much correct, because I saw when the mic was given to my friend there, all the guys went to him with the videos and the pictures. So he had all the spotlight on him. So KZN Kokta as well, please prepare yourself. Just one person that can say a few words. If not, somebody knows who's senior that I'm going to point to him. If nobody raise up the hands from Kokta KZN is at the back, he knows who he is. But I will leave it to them as well to raise up the hand after my speaker has shared his last thought in this. So I'm giving you a chance now to prepare your thoughts, all right? I'm buying you a bit of time. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I think the key three things I will take away sharing our experiences as follows. Number one, do not underestimate, always rethink your customer service delivery model. What we have seen in our work is a simple platform to resolve an account can lead to a very compliant citizen coming through and actually paying. And those headache revenues start to diminish. The second one, which is quite important, I think it revolves around the three areas that we discussed: leakage, completeness, diversification. I think the era or the time to rethink how we are funded starts now, so that by the time it is 2040 or 2063, we are able to be self-sustainable. The last one, which I must admit, I think it came from the stat that we have 200 PRNs working for municipalities, is that we need to start thinking differently about creating that conducive platform for the professionals to actually join local government. So those are the three things I think I would highlight from today's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give him a hand, please. Thank you very, very much to the Consulting Group as well for supporting our initiative. Thank you. So you can remain here while we finish off, unless you want to go, up to you. All right. So at this time, I'm going to give a chance to Kokta KZ. And please raise up your hand as my gentleman is coming over to the rep that will speak. Also, I just want to acknowledge AGSA as well. I heard that there was a senior executive that was with us, or if you're still around as well. Thank you very much to AGSA. They came from Pretoria. Initially, there was not going to be anyone from there, but subsequently, I've been informed that one of the senior executives from AGSA flew down to be with us. So thank you so much. Let's give a hand to AGSA. All right, Kokta KZN, please raise up your hand. Kokta KZN, Logan. Oh, he's raising up his hand. Yeah, Logan is raising up his hand. I could see him. Yeah, he is. Because he was looking around, but he is one of the seniors there. Not by age, I'm talking senior and the experience side. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dr. Ngobo. Logan Play from Municipal Finance, Kokta. Thank you first, and thank you to people like Johnny for organizing something like this. It's been tremendous. The speakers, the quality of speakers is outstanding, and the information shared, really appreciated. I think we need to work together, and leadership's going to play an important role in this. But we must be brave enough to also point out where the gaps are. The international speakers, thanks for the information that they've shared. And I think you said it in the first day. We have the plans. It's the implementation that is lacking. So together, it's not a single effort. We need to work together. The different spheres of government, academia is important as well. They need to come on board. And we need to take this to the councils, to the municipalities. And reinforcement is an important thing. The only way we can reinforce is by having such programs over and over again. It's not just a once-off session. Asset management, if that fails, everything else is going to fail. The economy will drop. So we really need to, and as COCTA, we'll be on board. I mean, you heard the minister's speech. It sums up so much. So we are there to support all the time. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Let's give him a hand, please. And unprepared but well said. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Logan. So at this time, I'm going to call upon Mr. Mashogo, our friend and colleague from MISA and partner to our Indaba, just to close off. And from my side, thank you. When he is done, we can all leave. They will open up that door, and we can all come out. I'm hoping they also have some of the parking tickets there. So as you leave, you can just grab your ticket. And as I said, you now will have more time for the exhibitors. Please just pass through there. They might have some more gifts. So you might get some gifts. I'm not sure if they've got some tablets too, but you can find out. Others, they give some tablets, iPads and iPods. So you can check it out, all right? So from my side, you've been a very great audience, and thank you so much for everything. But I will leave those honors to Ubaba Uma Shogo.